I'm in Bali on a tourist visa. That means I have 30 days to enjoy Indonesia before I will have to leave. But like so many people now, I'm not just here for the surfing and yoga. I'm working remotely.
I love being a digital nomad. I think it's really cool.
I can get lunch for just a few dollars, much cheaper than California.
Geographic arbitrage, the idea of earning in one currency in kind of one market and then going to a different market where your money goes further.
That's Lauren. She's VP of Communications of Safety Wing, a platform for insurance for nomads. And digital nomads are now going mainstream.
Digital nomad was like a weird little niche thing. And then during COVID, everybody was remote working.
This is all legal because I'm earning my wages outside of the country. Indonesia likes nomads because people make their salaries abroad, so we're not taking any jobs from locals.
They're paying for short-term accommodation, they're paying for transportation, so they do contribute a lot.
Bali was once known as a honeymooner's paradise, and it's now an island packed with co-working spaces, laptops in restaurants, and foreign-owned restaurants and gyms.
And you get to go and live in somewhere else for 6 months and give back to the economy.
More than 30 countries are launching digital nomad programs.
We've done digital nomading in India, in Bali, and it's absolutely great.
The idea is that you can stay for up to 6 months or even 2 years and just work from your laptop.
Governments love this because it brings in more money.
Locals win because it increases jobs.
Most of their income comes from like tourism. The nomads help them a lot.
And nomads love it because we can hop around the world and call a foreign country home for a little while.
The internet has made the world borderless.
So is there any downside to all of this?
We're seeing a bit of backlash in cities like Lisbon and Mexico City against nomads.
There are some people who still feels like they're pretty superior to the Indonesian. Overall, for like the economy, very good.
For business, it's good. For healthy, not good.
June 2020, the first ever digital nomad visa was launched. Barbados was freaking out about the pandemic and its loss of tourism, so it said, hey, instead of working from home, come work from our beaches.
You basically had all of these governments that were trying to figure out what they were going to do about tourism, given that nobody was traveling. And they sort of identified digital nomads as this group.
Digital nomading started around 10 years ago when internet became readily available. See, for the first time in our history as humans, your work didn't need to be defined by your physical location.
We're very, very connected globally now. I have more in common with a millennial in Mexico or a millennial in like the Balkans than I do with like a boomer in the UK.
So now combine remote work with record high inflation in countries like the US and the UK, and a new generation mindset of millennials who would rather take a pay cut for a better quality of life than have a high salary.
A lot of businesses also see that your workers don't need to be in an office to perform well. They can perform well here, they can perform well at home.
Always felt that the 4 weeks of annual leave that we have in Australia isn't quite enough. So being able to live and work and really experience a place, stay there for a long period of time, I can see myself doing that.
But there's a major problem here. See, until now, countries offered tourist visas or work visas.
You'd come in on a tourist visa, and then you would be kind of in a little bit of a grey area because you're like, are you supposed to be working? Are you not? But I'm working online, so I'm not taking any money from the country. With a digital nomad visa, it's a lot more transparent and they tend to be longer. You're not doing 1 month coming in and out.
To understand where this movement is heading, I go to a place that may have actually started all of this.
Bali has played a really special role in the nomad movement.
Bali has benefited a lot from digital nomads. For every tourist you meet, you'll meet 2 or 3 people staying for months working from their laptops.
I think it's really good, especially for Bali, because the main income for Balinese and Indonesian in Bali is tourism.
There's lots of people here, and what was previously a pretty small, quiet town is now a heaving hub full of co-working spaces and wall-to-wall people working from cafes.
This area is called Canggu.
Here in Canggu, rice fields like this are disappearing, especially over the past 10 years. In fact, when you see one, you're actually surprised because they become quite rare. And the reason is this land is extremely valuable right now, way more valuable than what it would produce from rice. It could be sold for a store, a restaurant, a villa, and make way more money.
Some Balinese I meet express concern over the change in their island and the culture because of nomads, but many are also happy that their children will not work on rice fields like generations before them.
It's pretty much impossible to walk more than 1 minute and not see somebody building something somewhere.
You could say that Bali has become a victim of its own success.
Foreigners often come to Bali to escape tall buildings and things like that, so they love rice fields because they're different different, exotic, and relaxing. But what do locals think about this?
It's good in a sense that like foreigners come here opening business, example like real estate, guest house. And now Indonesians do something similar because they get inspired from foreigners.
And I've certainly met a lot of people around the world who literally would meet people from elsewhere in a co-working space and then end up giving them some work. And then that person ends up really kind of, let's say a Balinese local ends up going from earning for Indonesian clients at a much lower rate into earning for American clients where they can earn a lot more money.
While cultural exchange and better salaries have been good, it's also led to a surge in housing costs, and that impacts locals the hardest.
The developments here has been like crazy, like the prices just surged because of like the borders being open. I don't know if it's good for like locals like me to buy like a land. It's just like everything is in USD and we still earn like IDR, right?
We should have the regulation for that, the maximum stay.
I like it, but culture-wise, it's a bit sad to see like the Balinese forgetting their like culture.
There is sort of a wealth disparity between, the Westerners who are coming over here and maybe they're making a salary in the US or they're making a UK salary, which is a lot higher than the average salary in Indonesia, and they're sort of taking advantage of a lower cost of living.
Digital Nomad Visas provide a solution to what's been a very confusing area. For some working from Bali, they will get on a plane every 30 or 60 days to fly to Singapore or Bangkok, and maybe on the same day re-enter Bali under a new tourist visa. It's called a visa run.
Everybody just does a visa run where you just fly out of the country and then you fly back in.
It'd be ideal for like 3 months, right, for digital nomads.
As Bali has surged in popularity, there's also been an increase in bad behavior by tourists.
What are you doing driving the bike? I'm blind.
It's gotten so bad that Bali has created a task force and a hotline where you can report unruly behavior.
I don't think nomads are the problem with like stuff that are happening in Bali. It's just tourists.
But head to Portugal and digital nomads have become a controversial topic. See, locals here blame them for driving up the cost of living and causing a housing crisis.
I've heard of places like that, especially Lisbon, which has gotten really expensive and it's completely changed the dynamic of the place.
Tens of thousands of foreigners have moved here under a digital nomad visa, which states that as long as you make around $3,200 per month or more, you can just be based here. But locals actually are protesting against this because it's made many homes unaffordable.
My editor, actually, Pedro, he lives in Portugal. He now lives in France, and he's Portuguese, yeah. I think it's expensive.
After the financial crisis of 2008-9, Portugal's economy suffered really, really badly. You essentially had all of the young people from Portugal basically go to other European cities to make their careers because there just weren't the job opportunities.
After the Portuguese economy recovered, the government launched a campaign to bring back young people who had emigrated overseas.
We are gonna basically try and get knowledge workers into our country. And they were incredibly successful. And so you have now a huge number of, for example, people from California have relocated into Portugal.
But Lauren says, don't point your fingers at the nomads.
It's a lot to do with sort of more expat relocators than it is to do with nomads. Obviously, both of these things really, really good for the Portuguese economy, but they were kind of victims of their own success in the sense that property markets have gone absolutely wild in Lisbon in particular. When it comes to nomads, though, there's a bit of a conflation between different groups here. Nomads are kind of getting the blame, but there's actually over-tourism going on.
As digital nomad lifestyles and visas grow in popularity, one thing is remaining to be fixed, and that's taxes.
Everybody knows about Dubai, sort of tax-free for now, but I think that eventually there's going to have to be some international agreement. Remote working is only going to increase, internet is going to get faster.
The US is one of a few countries that doesn't really care where you're living when you earn your income. If you're a US citizen, you'll be paying tax. Australia could adopt this method.
They might go the American route. I heard maybe Australia is going to do that, where they say, okay, we're going to tax you on your worldwide income if you're an American citizen or an Australian citizen.
Who should you pay your taxes to if you're living a month in one country but then another month in another country?
The sales tax is like a really good way just to make sure that as the economy is growing and as people are participating in staying there and using infrastructure and facilities.
Lauren at Safety Wing is actually working to fix the tax dilemma.
I'm working on and the kind of tax-related portion that we have relating to nomads. At the moment, I at Safety Wing am developing a product called the Nomad Border Pass.
Nomad Border Pass is a multi-country visa for digital nomad visas to create an international standard for nomading.
So it's kind of like, okay, nomad visas are great if somebody wants to come for 6 or 12 or 24 months, but the majority of nomads actually don't want that. They just want to come for 1 to 3 months to experience a place.
In 2026, they'll be introducing nomad taxes, and that will give money back to a government depending on how long you stay there. So what happens next?
Sort of in this situation at the moment where a lot of jobs are still geo-locked. You already have to have the right to work in the US or the EU to take those jobs, which basically means that even if you have the same skills as somebody else, if you're holding the wrong passport, you're not actually able to kind of take those opportunities. And I would love to see that change. And I think it will. Like, I think we're already kind of going in that direction. Obviously, income and profession is not necessarily like the great global leveler, like anyone in the world can go anywhere they want. But I think you can see it as kind of a democratization down of these sort of extra global mobility rights that the ultra wealthy have had for years, you know, buying second passports and being able to move around the world really freely.
Everybody's rushing to Bali because everybody knows that's the nomad place, or to Portugal. And I think over time you're going to get different hotspots opening up and it will tend to even out a bit.
We can be fortunate that we are part of this, but I think there will be a trend that more and more people will join this trend.
It's really about trying to create triple wins, I think, with nomads. It's like wins for the nomad visitors, wins for the governments so that they can kind of like meet their policy goals, etc. And it's wins for the local community so that people are really actually benefiting from this global connectedness.
But what happens when a place develops too fast, or a place loses part of its culture as a result of nomads?
So many rice fields and Balinese culture, which is the reason of people coming to Bali. And this downside, this become less and less. Probably Bali become less interesting.
We've already got 5G. You know, what happens when we get 6G and you can just rock up anywhere, or Starlinks everywhere? Eventually, when that happens, like the traditional working in an office is just going to go by the wayside.
I can see myself living this life for a long time. I get to travel. I've always wanted to travel more.
You want to stay for a month or 2 months or maybe 3 months. Maybe you want to return there every year. Maybe you want to go for 4 months every year. And then you know the place and you meet people and you know where to go and you watch it change, and it becomes interesting. It feels like a second home.
But I want to know in the comments, what do you think about digital nomad visas? Are they the future, and what should governments do to protect citizens but also encourage investment? While you're at it, check out more of my videos and don't forget to follow.